Great. Thanks for your patience. So I did one webinar before on government support. What we'll cover today is the summary of everything that we've had since March. And basically, UK government is considered the most generous across the major economies in terms of how they tackle the COVID-19 crisis in the economy with the boost of different support schemes. And they've launched a series of schemes in March. That was a major one. They've updated us in April, and we've got a couple of new things coming at end of April and beginning of May, sorry. So we'll just do the general overview of what is available, who are eligible, and the amount that can be claimed, and what is coming automatically, where we need to do something, be a bit more proactive. So yeah, and if you've got any questions, meantime, feel free to ask in Q&A. So let me share my screen with you. Great. Let's start. What we're going to cover today. We'll start with the coronavirus job retention scheme. Many people refer to this as a furlough scheme. And then we will cover what are available in terms of deferring tax payments. And we'll continue with the summary of help that is available for self-employed people. And there are different loan schemes that are backed by government. And the Future Fund is something that has been recently designed for startups. And also we'll talk about other grants. So the first one, coronavirus job retention scheme, probably the biggest one from government. They launched it for the businesses who basically, if you're running the company and if your company has been affected by the crisis and you can't continue hiring or paying for your employees, the government's message is please don't fire them, keep them on payroll, and we will pay full salary for their salaries. And we will just cover how much in a minute. First of all, who are eligible, it's if you are a UK employer and if you have employees who are living in UK, you should be eligible. Where have been problems, let's say, if someone didn't have employees in place at the end of February or beginning of March, and someone who was going to, let's say, offer the job to someone who will start on 20th of March, and because of the crisis, they couldn't offer that, these people are not eligible because they weren't, no information was sent to HMRC prior to 18th of March. Unfortunately, in this case, these companies and employees are not eligible. In terms of amounts, the government covers it's 80% of normal salary, up to £2,500 per month. So, what do we mean by that? For example, if your company pays someone, let's just take an example of £2,000 a month, and 80% of that will be 1,600. So the whole amount of 1,600 will be covered by government, and it's up to you to decide whether you want to pay 1,600 or you want to top it up by £400, and then in which case employees will get full salary. But again, what you can claim from the government is only 80% of normal salary that you paid before. And obviously, if someone is getting 10K a month, then you can't go and claim 8,000. It is limited only to the £2,500 a month per employee. What elements are covered? This is one of the frequently asked questions. Is not just salary, but also the national insurance and income tax employee that is also covered, and including pension as well. So it's really can be more than 2,500 really. So it's 2,500 relates only to the net wages, and then on top of that you have taxes as well that are covered. Claim periods, that's the March. They've backdated the claim for March, so if you haven't claimed it, and you can still claim for March. The claim can be done for April and June. So they've started initially for three months, and then they've extended it by 4 more months. So you have July, August, September, and October. What changes they've made it a bit more flexible. Before you had to have the employee full-time furloughed, so you couldn't say, oh, I can pay you only 10% of your salary, just come and work 10% of your time. What government is changing from 1st of August, they're adding this flexibility to the scheme. That means you as an employer can hire someone continue with people who have been furloughed before for, let's say, 20, 30, 40% of the time. They can work for you part-time basically, and can still get paid for the full time. And that's what government calls you sharing the cost with the government. So you pay for the time that employee works for you, that partially, and the rest of it will be paid by government. And that continues till October. Tax payment deferral, no major updates here. Let's just do the refresher. It concerns two taxes. The first one is VAT. If you have VAT bill for the recent quarter, the most recent one and the latest one to cover will be the one that is ending on 7th of June, the deadline for which ends 7th of June, which is the quarter ending April. So if you haven't submitted that VAT for that period, what you can do, you can cancel your direct debit with HMRC. Go ahead and submit your VAT and not pay for it till 31st of March next year. And there's no penalty, no interest charge on that by HMRC. So they're deferring it for 1 year time. Whether there will be any extension for this, whether this will apply for next VAT quarter, we don't know yet. No news. Self-assessment. And yeah, back on the VAT, my view probably will not be extension, logically speaking, if the business has been affected by coronavirus. Your business is not doing well or not generating any revenue, hence there shouldn't be any VAT to pay anyway. So self-assessment, that's not a big one. If you have payment on account, and if you had a big self-assessment bill and you paid parts of it, you paid the bill in January, and as you know, payment on account, you're paying half of your bill before July. If that does apply to you, then you don't have to pay it before 31st of July. You can pay it by end of January next year. So that's another help for some self-employed people. But the major one, of course, self-employment income support scheme. This wasn't available at the beginning. There was a lot of controversies, talks, and people asking, what about us, self-employed people? Now you can get £2,500. Very similar to the furlough scheme, £2,500 per month, um, and it is for three. It's for 3 months. It's basically for March, April, well, April, May, and June. And who are eligible? If yeah, that's a big one because many self-employed people. Let's say if you were employed before, if you just become self-employed now, or if you become self-employed anytime from April last year, from April 2019, unfortunately, you are not eligible. That's where the governments, they're trying to do their best. Their message is when understand that it's not, we can't cover everyone that has been affected. And unfortunately, people who were employed before and started their business, sole trader business, and within the last 12 months, they are not eligible. So you had to be, there are many criteria here, but you have to be, basically you have to be sole trader for 2016, 17, 17, 18, or 18 and 19 tax years, if one of them at least. And yeah, another one on eligibility that's worth mentioning. If for example you are employed and also you're a sole trader, they're looking at whether you got 50% of all income from sole trader business. So if someone were earning, let's say, 30,000 from being employed, and also they had self-employed income of 20,000, unfortunately, these people are not eligible. And at the same time, if you get something from sole trader business, 20K, and you're part-time, so we're earning 10K, you are eligible. Amount, as I said, is £2,500 per month per sole trader. So that's maximum. And that's, they're looking at your average monthly payments. And if you were earning that much per month in average, you can get full £2,500, and that gets multiplied to 3 because you're getting it for 3 months. Whether this will be extended as furlough scheme, we don't know yet, and maybe potentially, but no news. Claim periods, yeah, I guess we've covered that. You can claim now. They were planning to do the claims in June, open the claiming in June. However, they've done a pretty good job, HMRC, and the portal was open from last week, so you can go ahead and claim. And there is a eligibility. You can check whether you're eligible or not. It's very simple. You just put in your UTR and national insurance number, and they say whether you can claim or not. Loans. There are 3 types of loans. The first one and the most recent one is bounce back loans. This has been a relief for many small businesses. They've got very good terms. It's basically you can get up to 25% of your turnover. And if you are a new business, that's 25% of your forecasted turnover because you haven't got your year completed yet. So with bounce back loans, the terms are it's maximum 50,000, and the government pays for your first year's interest, and interest is fixed at 2.5%, so quite low. And then, and you're not paying any capital repayment first year at all. So you have this first year, no payment, no interest. Only from the second year you start repaying the loan, and you can take it up to 6 years. Again, first year interest free, and you're not paying anything. You start paying within the last 5 years time, and it's very easy to get. Official statistic, I need to check. The latest one was something like 98% were getting it, and basically, you just need to check whether your bank is one of them. I know the big four banks there, Lloyds, HSBC, the RBS, NatWest, Starling, Cooperative recently joined it. The ones that haven't been there, but Metro Bank hasn't been approved yet. It wasn't at least a few days ago, and I know they've applied and they're waiting for it. So there are a few banks that are waiting for it, and so if your bank doesn't offer it, you can always try using a different bank or just to check the status of where your bank is with this scheme. Also, the important bit is as long as you have this company, if you've got the new company, if it was in January or February, it should be fine. But if you've opened the company in April and or May, unfortunately, you can't get the loan. The second one, the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, that's basically if you want to get more than 50K, and let's say if your turnover is, let's say, a million and 25% of it is £250,000, then, okay, you've got 50K from bounce back loan. You can go ahead and try to get 200,000 more. The difference between the first one and the second one, a few differences. The major one is government backs bounce back loan 100%. What does that mean? It's government says to bank, look, if the customer fails, if limited company can't pay it back and they go bankrupt, I will pay you. So government promises to pay banks this money. So banks have got literally nothing to lose. So that's why it is pretty much automatic. You're just going, filling the forms. It takes around 4 or 5 minutes to fill the application. It's more of another application than self-certification where you're just clicking yes, 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 agree with this one, with these things. And in terms of data, you're just putting the turnover or expected turnover and amount of loan that you want to take. And also details of the company. It's very easy. In terms of coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, the government backs it up by 80%. So it's very good as well. I mean, the banks have got only 20% to lose, but they have got something to lose, right? So they are doing checks, and therefore it's not that easy to get this one. Also, the interest rate is not fixed at 2.5%. You can get much higher. And the last bit is, again, it does take time. You're getting questions. You'll get, you need to provide cash flow cost. Some banks may ask for business plan for the business. And yeah, but still there. And if you want to get more than 50K, definitely it's good time to get it because still will be pretty low interest rates and 80% backed by the government. So banks will be much more flexible in giving this loan out. And the one for large businesses, that's, I guess, our clients and the target area is small. This is not worth talking about it, but that's available for businesses, and they've extended this scheme for larger businesses. So that's available again if you are multi-million turnover business. Future funds, again, not much to talk about this one, but the startups have been one of the areas where there were lots of talks and then there are not much available for startups. I know France, for example, they've done really good job for startups. There was a bit of pressure on Chancellor, okay, what about startups? And they came up with this future fund scheme, which is, I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, I don't see big value, and there are lots of pitfalls in this. But basically, if your startup so far has raised £250,000 from investors, yeah, you may be eligible to the scheme. And then if you're raising right now 150K or more, then government can match this with convertible loans. So basically, if you're taking 150K, then there is government can top it up by 150k, and then you're getting basically double. But then that's a convertible loan, and the interest rate on that can be quite high. So again, there are many things to watch out here. Um, I know from our clients they weren't over the moon, and I don't know anyone who is using it right now. Again, from our clients, but still worth considering, especially if you've got 250k raised before. But yeah, I would say be careful. Like one of the main points to look into is EIS, SEIS, well, not SEIS, in this case, EIS eligibility. If investor goes through this round, they have to understand that any further investment that they put into the company, they can't get EIS relief back from that. Other grants, so we have small business grant funds. That's for businesses, basically for the most of the businesses have that should pay business relief, business rate, but they have small business relief. So we're talking about the businesses that have got some kind of property where they're physically based. We did say in the last webinar that the companies that are in co-working spaces, they are not eligible. However, there has been a recent announcement from government that said they're putting aside more than 600 million pounds to help the businesses that were using service working workplaces. So if you are in co-working, get in touch with your co-working provider and just ask for update. There hasn't been much on that in the news recently. It's just that there is the government is working with councils. So in theory, councils you should get some information from councils, but I would say being proactive does help. So get in touch with your co-working and find out whether there are any movements there. And yeah, and the small business grant funds, co-working, that both should work in the same way. It will be up to £10,000. And the most of the councils, what they do, they simply send you the letter saying that you're eligible. You just need to fill the form and put your bank details and send it back by post. Some councils do it online. So just maybe check with your council if you haven't received anything from the council. Just check where your business is located. The best thing I would say maybe will be Googling small business grant funds and put your council name. The next one, retail, hospitality, and leisure grant fund. These are, I guess, self-explanatory. The same thing as small business grant fund, but for businesses that have been affected in much more severe way is restaurants, the classic example, again, retails and also leisure facility providers. These, again, very same way, but it's not 10,000, it's 25,000 pounds. One thing to mention, I would say, these grants, both of them, are taxable income. So when you receive them, make sure in your bookkeeping they go to other revenue. Obviously, no VAT, but there will be corporation tax that will apply to these grants. Innovate UK grants, I mean, this has always been there. It's probably what changed, the major thing that has been changed, that Innovate UK has got more, because businesses were struggling, they started applying these grants more and more. They're getting the record number of applications for different grants. Maybe it's worth going to their website. I mean, they've extended obviously their grant offerings due to the recent crisis. But maybe yeah, just go to the website, check the grants, and see which ones you're eligible for. A little bit about us. We're firm of accountants. The Q accountants were based in London and Sheffield. It's a relatively small firm. It's a team of 16 person, by the way, joined us on 1st of April. That was an interesting one. She had to work from home. First day of the book. what we do, we provide all-inclusive packages. Um, we we do everything from bookkeeping to VAT, from corporation tax to self-assessment tax return, payroll, pension. Well, and one thing that we do for our clients that um, we've had very positive feedback is tax planning, regardless of the size of the business. If it's a very small business, micro business, doesn't matter. The tax planning does apply to literally everyone. So we take every client. We're having this individual approach where we are considering what options are there, and yeah, and every client gets fixed fee. They pay 160 every month, and everything is included. Even if the clients have got questions, emails, they can. We for every client we have these WhatsApp groups where they can ask a question. It doesn't matter. We're not charging the time that we spend with the clients. And yep, that's us. If you are not our client, and if you want to follow us, you can easily find us in our website or just join Instagram page. We are very active there, unlike many other accountants. Right, the question times. Who has got any questions? Please feel free to ask now. So the question came, what is the situation for the self-employed who are getting working tax credit and have relatively low income? What extra financing is available? Yeah, I mean, it's a universal credit is there. Obviously, that's it's one of those people who have been obviously affected as everyone else um, from the options that we've listed. Again, the self-employment income scheme, if it's not eligible, then the government answer is very basic. You need to go to the benefit scheme, and it looks like this is something that you've already done. Yeah, in terms of extra financing, it's nothing. I mean, it's nothing to do with COVID-19 situation, but going to the banks is always an option. Obviously, you can't, especially ironically, because you are in low income. If you are in a low income, you can't take a lot of financing. And by the way, for self-employed people, if you have a sole trader business, I guess something that I should have mentioned is um, the bounce back loan that I mentioned. That also applies for sole traders. So if you have a business bank account with your bank in relation to your sole trading business, you can apply for bounce back loan. Something to consider. Just watch out. There is one difference between if you have a limited company or you're a sole trader. If you are a sole trader, then you're effectively putting your personal assets in risk. If you are a limited company, there is no such personal guarantee that you need to put through. It's pretty safe to have it through a limited company, but still an option. If you have a business, even small business, you can get some loan from the government, and it's pretty much automatic, as I said. And by the way, on bounce back loan, the question that is getting asked, what about early repayment? If you're paying it earlier than usual, then there is no penalty. In theory, you can take the loan and pay no interest, nothing, and in 1 year time, if you think your business is doing well and you don't even want to pay 10.5% interest, you can repay all loan back and there will be no interest. Basically, low income self-employed on their own. Again, many people and businesses are still not covered. I'm not supporting governments. I'm not saying, you know, they've done. I think they've done a great job, and but there are still many people and many businesses that haven't been covered. well, government's explanation is it's physically impossible to make sure everyone has been covered. If you have any questions, you can find out about us more in the website, and if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. And the email address is info@qaccountants.com, the general one. Hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we'll do more, and I'll see you in one of the next ones. Thanks very much, and have a lovely day ahead.